What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. And in today's video, we're going to be previewing this week's Champions League fixtures, matchups that will be kicking off later this evening. Stay tuned until the end of the video for a surprise prediction. Of course, the first matchup that will be kicking off this evening will be Kairat versus Real Madrid. A first between Kairat and Real Madrid, first time they're facing each other, especially in this competition. Real Madrid come off a heavy defeat, 5-2 defeat against Atlético in the derby. We know that they are the kings of this European Cup and definitely will want to make amends in this competition, in this matchup as well. Kairat are limited in squad depth and experience, but at home they'll really look to uh, upset the European giants in this matchup. Of course, some players to watch out for: Kylian Mbappe, always a threat in Europe, and he'll want to make amends for the matchup against Atletico over the weekend. Also, keep eyes on Dean Huijsen to stabilize the backline and likely rotated players to come on like Fran Garcia, Eduardo Camavinga in the midfield as well. Some tactical notes to look out for: Madrid may rotate due to injuries. In defense, Carval still out, Militao still out as well. Kairat will look to stay compact, force Madrid wide or into areas where counter attacks may be possible for Kairat Almaty. We expect Real Madrid to, of course, dominate in possession and try to stretch the pitch as well. A comfortable win for Real Madrid, in my opinion. I think a 3-0 win for Real Madrid in this match fixture. Then, of course, the next matchup that will be kicking up: Chelsea versus Benfica. A big emotional subplot. Of course, Jose Mourinho returns to Stamford Bridge as Benfica manager. Chelsea have struggled in early in the season, of course. Injuries and form has been big issues for Chelsea. We've seen back-to-back losses in the league. Manchester United the previous week, and Brighton as well. A loss to Brighton as well. Benfica are still unbeaten domestically and want to make a big statement in Europe this season. Of course, players to watch out for Chelsea, depending on the lineup, looking at attacking players like Pedro Neto as well as Garnacho, who can break the lines for Chelsea. And then Benfica, Mourinho will most likely lean on experience, organized players, perhaps leveraging on transitions and set pieces as well. Chelsea may control the tempo in this matchup, avoid being second best in midfield, I think. And then, of course, Benfica might sit deep, absorb the pressure, and hit on counter attacks and switch plays. You know that Mourinho likes to play a defensive minded game, parking the bus, if I can put it that way. So the battle for the wingers and fullbacks overlapping could be key in this matchup. Who can exploit space? Let's see what happens in this matchup. I expect a very tight game, either a 1-1 draw for Chelsea Benfica, or Chelsea might nudge it 2-1 in the end. Then, of course, another big game: Liverpool or Galatasaray versus Liverpool. Atmosphere will be intense. We know this Turkish home ground can be very hostile. Pressure on Liverpool away conditions. We know that Liverpool come off a loss against Crystal Palace, so they'll definitely want to put things right in this matchup. Of course, they'll look to assert control in this match, but of course, Galatasaray can be disruptive in transition and set plays. So let's see what happens in this game. Players to watch out for: I think Mo Salah will be key in this matchup. And then, of course, Liverpool, of course, will try and control possession, high press, but they really must guard themselves being exposed on the break. Galatasaray may retain compactness centrally in the midfield, try to overload the wings occasionally. We've seen some weaknesses in Frimpong. We know that his defensive abilities are not of the best, but definitely going forward, he is a very strong player as well. I lean towards a Liverpool win in the end, but might not be easy for Liverpool. I still lean a 2-1 win for Liverpool as well. Then the fourth match will be Bodø Glimt versus Tottenham. Spurs will face travel in this matchup and intensity. We know that Bodø Glimt are dangerous at home as well. They'll aim to be bold in this game, especially in transitions, and push any defensive lapses towards Tottenham as well. Then, of course, some key players to look out for in this matchup. Tottenham can be very good in transition on the counter attack, so their forwards and the midfields will really be key in this matchup. Spurs likely to dominate possession in this game, push forward, but also they'll need to watch themselves against the counter attack as well. Uh, Bodø, of course, will stay compact in this game, absorb the pressure, and look to strike quickly. Any mistakes from Tottenham, set pieces, they'll look to strike on that as well. Tottenham should win in this game, but we expect Bodø to be trouble. 2-1 win for Tottenham, in my opinion. Then, of course, Atletico Madrid versus Eintracht Frankfurt. Atletico will want to dominate at home, of course. Frankfurt are dangerous on the breaks and in transition. A contrasting style for Atletico Madrid, more structured. Frankfurt, more free in attack. So it will be really interesting to see how this game pans out. We know that Simeone is more structured in his gameplay, more defensive solidity as well. So, of course, Atletico will definitely look to their defenders to be disciplined in defense, midfielders who break the line, perhaps their forwards. I think Julian Alvarez is really showing his mettle this season. I think he performed fantastically in the game against Real Madrid. I think that he was the key player in the end. I think he was involved in about three, 3 or 4 of that goals. Key player for Atletico Madrid. Um, of course, like I said, Atletico will look to press in phases. I don't think that they will go all out in attack. They'll try and control the tempo, especially in the midfield. And of course, Frankfurt will look to ride on counter attacks, their speed, and exploiting those spaces that Atletico Madrid leave behind. This will be a very tight game in my opinion, but I still lean on a 2-1 win for Atletico Madrid. Then Newcastle versus Union SG. Newcastle travel away. Union can be a surprise at home. Newcastle will definitely look to impose themselves in this matchup, but local conditions, crowd energy could play a huge factor. No grounds like these, Galatasaray, Union SG, these can be very hostile grounds. So I think that the crowd will be a key factor for Union SG, the home supporters. Of course, Newcastle will definitely try and control the possession, exploiting the width of Union SG. Of course, they will also stay compact centrally and force some mistakes in the wide areas and look to strike in those transitions. I do lean on a Newcastle win 2-1 in the end, but let's see what happens in this matchup. The next matchup that will be kicking off actually tomorrow, Monaco versus Manchester City, heavyweight clash. City are still favorites, but Monaco have quality at home and they will definitely try and make it difficult for Manchester City in this matchup. City, of course, will want to dominate in this match. Monaco will try to disrupt their rhythm and exploit their mistakes. I think that in this Manchester City side, there's still a little bit of mistakes. I think that they're still trying to find their form. Um, the 2 wins that they got in the league um, has been fantastic results for Manchester City. So let's see what happens. Some players to watch out for: Erling Haaland, Doku on the wing. I think that Doku is really showing his capabilities this season. So I think that he'll also be very key for Manchester City. Tijani Reinders in the midfield will look to control and stay compact in the midfield as well. And then of course Monaco will rely on their creative players and will look to strike early. They'll also look towards the counter attack, in my opinion. You know that Manchester City are very prone to counter attacks as of late. So City definitely will be pressing high and want to rotate to find gaps in the Monaco midfield and defensive systems. I think that City will still win in this matchup. I think 3-1 win for Manchester City. But who knows? This is a Champions League. Let's see what happens in this match. Of course, Napoli versus Sporting. Napoli at home will definitely try and assert himself. Sporting are still dangerous, having started with a strong performance. They beat Kairat last week 4-1. So Both teams have attacking quality. This match will be open, in my opinion. I don't think either team will sit back in defense. I think it will be a pound for pound matchup. Napoli, some players to watch out for, of course, in the midfield, Kevin De Bruyne, as well as Scott McTominay. Scott McTominay, I think, will be key in the midfield. Sporting, looking towards Luis Suarez or whoever is leading the attacking line at that moment. Some tactical notes to look out for Napoli. Napoli, of course, may press, try and dominate in the midfield, especially because they're playing at home. Sporting will try and remain fluid and quick in transitions. So we expect chances for both teams in this matchup. I think a draw, 1-1 draw, or Napoli might just edge it 2-1. Another big matchup to look out for, Arsenal versus Olympiacos. Arsenal very, very, very strong at home. We've seen what happened last week with that comeback. So Olympiacos are still the underdogs in this matchup, but can be tricky. Arsenal will definitely look to assert themselves early on in the matchup and try and dominate in the midfield and dominate in the game as a whole. They look towards their forwards, their creative midfields. I think that in last week's game when Odegaard came on in the midfield, I think that he really brought some stability and control in that midfield. So he'll definitely be key in this matchup. Of course, Saka still remains a threat in these games, still remains a threat in general for any team that faces Arsenal in these matchups. Arsenal likely to push early, control the tempo and press high, but of course, Olympiacos may try to absorb the pressure, well hit on counter attacks, but be compact defensively. My predictions, I think a 3-1 or rather a 3-0 win for Arsenal, especially at home. Then, of course, Barcelona versus PSG, another big matchup. I think this is the key matchup for this week's Champions League fixtures. Marquee fixture as well. Big history, star power on both sides. Barcelona are missing some key defenders. Arroyo may be out. PSG have some injuries as well. Dembele and other players still in doubt as well for PSG. Barcelona, some players to watch out for: Lamine Yamal returning to form, Robert Lewandowski. Midfield creators, Pedri, De Jong in the midfield, they can really control that midfield and keep Barcelona ticking on in this matchup. Other than that, PSG will look towards their wingers, midfield players. Vitinha, I think that he can be a problem in the midfield for PSG as well. I think that looking at Desiree Dewey on the wing, um, he'll be he'll be key as well. Barcola will be key in this matchup. But let's see what happens. I think that in this matchup, Luis Enrique knows Barcelona, knows the history of the club and so on. So he'll definitely have a ace up his sleeve against this matchup. Of course, Barcelona will try and dominate possession, press high, and use their fullbacks. PSG will play with caution, in my opinion. Try to counter, exploit transitions, vertical passes as well. Let's see what happens in this game. I think it might be a tight matchup, but in my opinion, a 2-1 win to Barcelona, especially because it's a home fixture. So, yeah, that's my preview of this week's Champions League fixtures. Let me know in the comment section what do you think. And also, let me know who do you think will be a surprise for this week's fixtures. Do you think Kairat can beat Real Madrid or leave at least with a point? Let me know in the comment section and I will check you out in the next video. Peace out.